What's your name?
I'm Johnny.
How'd you get here?
Well, man, I tell you, uh, I had a pretty decent stint with drugs from the time I was like, and I'm a late bloomer. You know, I didn't start at a young age, 16 years old. I mean, it's young, but uh, 16 years old, I always struggled with acceptance growing up, being just real young, acceptance of myself and acceptance from others. And uh, I got expelled from Christian school I was going to. My grandparents put me in a good school and raised me pretty good, and got me away from my dad, he was an alcoholic, and they wanted a better life for me. So I get to be a teenager, and I was pretty sheltered my whole life up until this point.
What do you mean?
Just sheltered as in like they didn't really let me have friends over, or I couldn't go out a lot, you know, unless it was with them. And I got to the age about 13, 14 where I just said, forget that. And I was doing it anyway, against their wishes. They tell me not to, and I basically cuss them and tell them I'm doing it anyway. So I got expelled in 8th grade uh, due to my attitude and my rebellious attitude. I got expelled in 8th grade, and it took me about 6 months to get into a homeschool type thing, but it was still a private homeschooling. And I got to, which really I'm thankful, because I got to graduate early. I failed 5th grade and I got to graduate early. So when I graduated, up until I got to graduate, I just got where I was at home all the time. I just went out to the mall or wherever and just met whoever I could, you know, try to make friends. And I got kind of mixed in with the wrong people. I look back on it now, and I can see that I definitely got mixed in with the wrong type of people. Started hanging out with a couple dudes and stuff, skateboarding all the time. Well, they were drinking, and I wanted to try it because, once again, it goes back to that whole acceptance issue. I felt like I wanted to fit in. Yeah, I wanted to feel accepted by them, and really, it could have easily been me not doing it and still be accepted by them. You know, but I didn't see it that way at that young age. So I did it, and I loved it. I loved to party. And it started with me just partying. It was just partying. And then it got to where I was partying every day. You know what I mean? So I got introduced to that and marijuana at 16. Did that for a year or so. And the same people started progressing in their addiction. So they started, and at this point I wasn't really thinking about addiction. It wasn't, I felt like I was more addicted to the time with the friends, you know, the fun times and the partying and stuff. I was more addicted to that back then when I first started, and my buddy introduced me to Subutex. And like, I've done some lower tabs and stuff before, but it never progressed to anything. I'd maybe pop a couple while I was drinking sometimes. Started doing that, got on that pretty heavy.
How old were you this time?
17. Got on that pretty heavy. Was doing it every day. Got dependent on it. About 19, I weaned myself off of it and just started smoking weed again. And I mean, I was already doing that, but just started smoking weed again and drinking.
Why'd you wean yourself off?
Because I was feeling bad without it, and it was really, I was at the point where I wasn't too far gone on it to where it really, I was super dependent, but I could tell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could definitely tell. Loss of energy. Didn't feel too hot without it, you know what I mean? So I weaned myself off of it and just stuck with the alcohol and the drinking.
Are you
And
still with your grandparents at this time?
yes, my grandpa, he died in 2006, so I was with my grandmother from 2006 all the way up to 2019. So I was with her, and at this point, I was treating her bad, like real bad, you know. I was stealing from her. I was robbing her, uh, cussing at her when she tell me not to, you don't need to have these people around and stuff. Because at the time, I was selling marijuana. And I'd have just all kinds of people come all the time. And she didn't like it. Trapped her house out. And she didn't like it, of course. She's 70 some years old. Of course she didn't like it. But I didn't care. I didn't care. I just thought she wanted to, where I didn't have no fun like it was before when I was younger. I just kept going through my mind. And so about 19, I was with my ex-girlfriend, first love of my life. I said, you know what I'm saying. Got her. She was underage at the time. She's 17. Got her into doing, when we first got together, I was 17, she was about to be 16. Got her into doing all the same stuff I was doing, and just kind of really escalated her addiction also, because she was young and she looked at me, like, kind of looked up to me a little bit. So whatever I did, she did anyway, like, with no questions asked. And then we broke up. She cheated on me. And then that's when kind of my addiction spiraled out of control. I was drinking every day. Still wasn't on the Subutex again, but drinking every day, smoking weed every day. Just wilding out. And later on in life, fast forward a little bit, it progressed from 19 to about 23. I was just heavy, and I got back on Suboxone, Subutex. I was doing pretty much any and everything that you could put in front of me and give me. Whatever it was, yeah, I'll try it. So it progressed into that, and I got with my ex-fiance, and me and her tried methamphetamine for the first time. Together. This was 2015, end of 2015. Had a good job at the time. I worked at McDonald's. I was a crew trainer. They loved me. I was employee of the year. But my addiction kind of altered my mind to the point to where it would, like, I'd be so, without the drugs, I couldn't work. So I couldn't get out of bed. Didn't want to go to work. And an altercation happened at work, so I got fired due to me not having drugs, and got fired. So I never really tried to work again after that. I got with my ex-fiance, and we smoked and did box and stuff like that, but we tried meth for the first time. And that was the day that literally it went from me just having fun and partying to me thinking I was having fun and partying, but in reality it was just completely destroying my life. Just started snorting it and shooting it or not shooting it, but snorting it and smoking it every day. We broke up, and then that's when I just took that drug and really ran with it. As in, like, I was doing any and everything I could to get what I needed because I wasn't working at the time.
What'd that look like?
Robbing, stealing, car hopping, whatever I could to get, robbing my grandmother. And then in 2018, I started shooting that and the Subutex all in one go, and it that whole year was pretty bad for me. Me having all these meth heads over at my house, us having a good time while my grandmother's upstairs screaming and yelling at me, telling me to get these people out of her house because she didn't feel safe. I refused to listen to her. People brought over bed bugs and got her bedroom infested with bed bugs. Just really nasty people, And all due to, if these people weren't around, I wasn't going to get my drugs, Started really getting into criminal activity, going with people that was wanted and running from the law. And eventually I got theft charges, so I was running from the law anyway. And in 2019, I go to jail and I get out. Go to jail for theft, stayed 20 some days, get out. And my granny, she bonded me out. And my granny, she was probably the only person in my life, other than who I found in recovery, that was actually there for me. You know, like she loved me no matter what. She just wanted me to do better. And I really treated her bad. The last couple of years of her life, all she remembers of me is me shooting up in her house, me having these crazy people over all the time, and them robbing her, and me robbing her with them. You know, in 2019, May of 2019, I walk in and find her dead. Woke up one morning and she died of a infection in her bladder, UTI infection. It went septic. She passed away in her sleep. But instead of me worrying about that, I mean, it was in the back of my mind. I was worried about it, but instead of that, I literally walked in her room without me knowing and stole money out of her purse to go get drugs. Came back, and that's when I realized she was passed. So from then, and I didn't really realize until now how much that affected me mentally and like just emotionally until recently, in the last year or so. But after that, about a month and a half later, I go to jail after she passed, probation violation. About a month and a half later, my house burns down. People I was messing with, just dealing with the wrong people again. Got my house ruined. Lost everything I had. So I was on the street. My dad, he was there, but he didn't really want to be, but he was there. I mean, I could look to him for help financially, but any other thing, emotionally, physically, or nothing, wasn't there. And it always goes back to, like, I was raised in a great home, but the emotional factor of a family kind of wasn't there. You know, like, they never really sit down and talk to me about anything. If I was having a bad day, it wasn't like that. They'd just go out and buy me something, or take me out to eat to make me feel better, you know. So that emotional connection with family and people that I love was never there, really. It all had to do with stuff. Them buying me stuff, or them taking me out to eat, like material things. So after she passed, my house burned down. I got homeless. Was homeless for a while, 2019 through 2020, and that's just, I was shooting my lights out. Just didn't care.
You were homeless where?
Kingsport here. Actually stayed at this laundromat right down the street a couple times at night. Broke in a couple places, you know, got myself in trouble in 2020. At this point, my addiction was rampant, completely rampant. When I got arrested, I remember it till this day. When I got arrested in 2020, I broke into a house and took a bunch of stuff, and I was kind of staying in it also, you know, because I was homeless and squatting in it at night and stuff. I remember when I got arrested, I wasn't thinking, oh, fuck, I got arrested. I was thinking, shit, I can't do drugs no more. That's literally what I was thinking. It wasn't the fact that I was going to jail for a while. It was the fact that I wasn't going to get any drugs anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So that scared me more than the jail time. And once again, I didn't realize, I hadn't realized all this until I've looked back on it since I've been sober.
Yeah.
Got out of jail. I did a year flat in jail. Got out in 2021. Was saying the whole time, I'm done with this life. I'm done with this. I'm tired of this. Get out that very night. Go right back to the same spot I was going to down the street here, and getting high. As soon as I got out, 367 days in jail. Got out, fucked it up. Didn't go to probation. Didn't care to go to probation. Said catch me when you can. So this last time I went to jail, I was out for about 6 months. I went to jail in March of last year, and I said it again. I'm done with this. I'm tired of this. completely tired of this. And it felt kind of different, like I felt more driven to do it because my life had gotten to the point to where it was really hurting me mentally, being homeless and on drugs and two different types of drugs, a downer and an upper, and I can't. I'm more addicted to the upper, but I need the downer to feel normal, So I'd go mainly towards what I was more wanting, and I'd still feel bad because I didn't have the other. So it kind of mentally fried me, like, and drained me,
Yeah.
you know. Go to jail. I was in jail. I was sitting in jail, man, and this is really honestly like a spiritual experience for me. Sitting in jail, and they called for alcohol and drug classes. It's about a month and a half in. I was still kind of coming off Suboxone, so I didn't feel good. And normally, man, I'd be like, no, hell no, I ain't going to that shit. You know what I mean? I ain't going to that. But this time, without even thinking, I got up and I was like, I'm going. I'm going. And it was David from DAA. Couldn't tell you his last name, but he was there for DAA, and he was talking about the 12 steps and everything, and he meditated with us, and like he really lit a fire under my butt, man. And I'll be honest, I was still getting high in jail, but I knew that if I didn't change this time, that I was either going to end up dead in or in prison, or dead in prison, one of the three, and I knew I had to do something. Well, we had a little paper on our wall above the phones that had all these different resources, information on it. Somebody wrote down, and Sullivan County Anti-Drug Coalition was on there. And some people have been talking about it. I've heard some of my buddies talk about it and stuff, and I was asking questions. So about 6 months, 7 months into my stay there, after being put off like 3 times, them telling me I'm going to have to go and run my time, go to prison and stuff, I called with the intent of just wanting to get out of jail. That was my intent. I mean, I wanted to get sober and I wanted to get away from this stuff, but I really just wanted to get out of jail. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
And I called the Sullivan County Anti-Drug Coalition, and the number for it was Jeff Noah's number. It wasn't the actual coalition, it was his actual personal number. So I call and finally get a hold of him, and he said, I'll be there this week to see you. He was there 2 days later. Was talking to me, told him my story, and he said, well, I got a plan for you. He's like, oh, the only thing is you got to have willingness. I'm like, well, I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever I can get, rehab, whatever, it don't matter. He was at every court date from then on till November, and that was in August. And I remember I never really was in touch with my higher power since I was like little. I was raised a Christian and everything, and I hadn't really prayed in probably 10 or 15 years. I was mad at God, really. I was more on the side of my own self. Like, I believed I was a God myself. I believed in myself. And that day, man, like that week, I literally sat down and I prayed for the first time in years. And come that court date, they put him on the stand, put me out there, and it just so happens that the DA messed up some paperwork, and the judge didn't like that. And he heard Jeff a lot on it, and he granted me be able to go to MAG and come to sober living. I had to wait 2.5 months for it, but it was worth it. Totally worth it, man. I get to MAG, man, and I always say, especially when I go for aftercare or anything, that when I go into that building, it's like I'm home. Because that's where the person that you see today was born. And that's for sure, no matter what. That's why I have a heavy commitment of going back to MAG and talking to them. heavy commitment. And if I miss it, oh, I'm
Tore up.
tore up, man, like real tore up.
So that's something you do for your recovery.
For my
What
recovery.
do you do to maintain this state you're in?
What really helps me the most in recovery, and you got some people that say, well, the 12 steps and my sponsor helps me the most. What helps me the most is the fellowship and the love that's in this house, in the other houses, and just the recovery community in general that I've never even had in ever. The unconditional love no matter what, people that's there for you, and then the 12 steps and working with a sponsor is just an add-on to that. And I never really even thought about getting clean. I was literally dead set, I'm going to die a drug addict. I love getting high too much. The fact of getting sober scared me so bad that I just didn't want to do it. And there was really nothing, like I said, it just goes back to all the acceptance. I wanted to fit in, so I did it. And it progressed so much that I literally had to have it, mentally and physically. So it started with me just partying and having a good time with friends and doing it because they're doing it, to, oh, I need this to live. And the fact that I can say that I'm really super grateful for Jeff, for this house, for Recovery Resources, and it's just it's awesome, man. It's a different feeling, man. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to actually progress in life a little bit. And I'm not all the way there yet, of course. I'm only 8 months clean now.
It's a long time.
But for me, I was actually sitting there the other day thinking, I was like, man, and it doesn't really even cross my mind anymore, but I was like, man, I'm outside of jail, outside of the jail walls, sober, working, got an amazing group of friends that I call family, and I feel like I've got a purpose today. And I have never felt that way, ever, in my entire life.
It's awesome.
It's really, really cool, man.
What would you tell somebody that's still sitting in jail right now, who's trying to find their way?
Reach out. No matter how scared you are about it, reach out. And I'm going to tell them the way it was told to me. Reach out, take suggestions, and have willingness to do it.
Fair enough.
And then after the willingness, actually having the action to
back it up.
back it up.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.